Hello YouTube, Casual Cutter here, and I wanted to add this little prologue to my knife mod tutorial video for a couple of reasons. One, this is a really special video for me. I'm new to YouTube, as you might know, and this is not only my very first tutorial video on how to do anything, but the knife I'm going to be modding in this video turned out to be pretty special for a significant reason that you're going to find out if you stick around and watch the whole video. Pretty exciting stuff, actually. So it's my first video. The knife that I'm modding is quite the surprise overall. I didn't expect it to turn out the way that it did. I'll give you that little hint. Or to end up in the hands of somebody that it did. So there's that. Another thing too is that I kind of want to go over some of the do's and don'ts before we get into it, because as much as I tried to cover all the bases and precautions and measures you need to take, I definitely didn't hit every single detail. It's very important to get online and definitely read over all the resources available, especially regarding safety precautions when using ferric chloride and any of these other chemicals or materials. You definitely want to have the right protective equipment. So there's a disclaimer there. Anything I show you in this video, I'm not responsible for catastrophe that ensues. This is just a tutorial to kind of show you the steps to take to achieve this type of refinishing on a pocket knife. And yeah, definitely read over the precautions and proceed at your own risk. So now that that's out of the way, these are 4 knives that I personally own that I've modified and pimped out. Starting from left to right, this is actually the order that I've done them in. And I've done a couple in between, kind of in this area. But this Kershaw A Leak was actually the very first knife that I decided to test acid etching and stonewashing on, as well as heat coloring the hardware with a blowtorch. So basically I just got online, I read all the information I possibly could, and when I was confident enough to start, I picked up a knife that I had. I've had this leak for probably 10 years. It was beat up, it was scratched up, the tip was broken, I had to reprofile it, so I figured, you know what, it's a cool knife, I'm probably never going to get rid of it, but it's kind of beat up, so if I ruin it in the process, who cares? All in the name of science and progress, right? So definitely start with a knife that you do not care about at all. I'll get that right out there. If you're going to screw something up, which might happen, make sure it's not like a prized family heirloom or grail knife that you're doing this to. So, onto the leak. You can see the stonewash came out pretty cool. It's an aggressive stonewash. I did a darker etch on the handle scales. And then on the blade, I actually, after I etched and stonewashed, I went over it with some 1200 grit sandpaper, wet sanded it down, because I wanted to get some type of contrast. I didn't want the blade finish to be the same exact shade as the handle, the scales. So this knife looks cool. I mean, the bronze hardware contrasts nice, I think. That's my style. I dig that a lot. Thought it came out nice. However, it was my first knife. So, it's not without its issues. You're going to see in the video, I'm going to highlight what you should do to the blade in order to protect the action when acid etching. And I did not do all those things to this knife when I was learning. When this knife opens, and it functions perfectly, I mean, it opens and closes fine. It's an assisted opener, so that helps. However, I did not mask off certain parts of the steel that I did not want the acid to etch. And when the acid etches, it takes off minuscule amounts of material, but it's enough to affect the finely tuned action and the small parts on the knife. So what I probably didn't do is mask off this stop pin together with the part of the frame that the stop pin locks into. The result of that is this. I don't know if you can see it or hear it, but there's lock rock there. Now the lock rock could be a result of either not masking off these areas properly or not masking off the lock bar or lock face properly as well. Those are two areas that need to keep their tolerances, their factory tolerances. So be aware of that. Don't be surprised if your first knife or two have some lock rock, and there are certain things you can do to certain knives to tune that out and dial it back in. But there's also certain knives and a certain amount of damage you can inflict where you're just stuck with it. It's going to have lock rock. So keep that in mind. So that's the Leak. That was my first knife. My second knife is my personal Pilar, and I did pretty much the same exact mods to this one. Sanded the blade down after I etched it, stonewashed it. I also took a hand file and filed some jimping into the backspacer because the Pilar has a smooth, plain backspacer, and it's made out of aluminum, which is pretty cool for mods because aluminum is a soft metal, and as you can see, you can actually pretty easily file or engrave it. So I like the way this one turned out as well. This one had a little bit of lock rock at first, but I was able to tinker with it and tune it out. But again, a learning process. You know, that's what you're going to come in contact with when you're first learning how to do this stuff. This Spyderco PM2, the only thing I did was a blade refinish, but it was the first blade that I did this splatter pattern dual stage etch to, which people seem to like. I had this look in mind when I went into it, and I think it came out great. And yeah, so no issues there. That was just a refinish, but same steps have to be taken because you have to be careful with the parts of the blade that affect the action. The last knife that you see here is the most recent knife I've modded. It's an Ontario Rat 2. Again, I did the splatter pattern, but on this one I also did some mods to the scales, did some stipling and refinishing on the scales as well, and I think it came out good as well. So a lot of things you can do to these knives. This video is going to focus on specifically the modification of an all-new Pilar that I got, and stonewashing and acid etching specifically is what we're going to get into in terms of the tutorial part. But I did a lot of other stuff to the knife too that you're going to see at the end of the video. And like I said, there's a very special addition to this knife that you're probably going to want to see and you're probably going to want to learn more about. So stick with me through this video. It's going to be a long one, but it needs to be because it is for, you know, educational purposes. So thanks for watching, guys. Stick with the video, and I hope you like it at the end. Thanks. Hello, everybody. Casual Cutter here. And today, we're finally going to get into a tutorial on how to do some knife mods. This has been a highly requested video. A lot of people want to know step-by-step tutorial on mostly how to acid etch with ferric chloride and stonewash. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go over everything you need to do and everything you need to know and everything you need to obtain to do these knife mods. You'll see on the table from left to right we have ferric chloride. You can pick that up at most electronics computer shops. They use it to actually etch circuit boards, or you can order it online. I picked up a liter on Amazon for about 20 bucks. You're going to need a glass container or plastic, I prefer glass, to put the ferric chloride in when you're dipping your parts. You're going to need some tumbling media. I use ceramic tumbling media from Harbor Freight. You could actually use pretty much anything that's abrasive to stonewash, but to keep things simple, that's what I'm going to be using today. You're also going to need a plastic container to put the tumbling media inside of, and you're going to need your knife. For this video, we're going to be modding the pretty cool, all-around great knife CRKT Pilar. What I love most about this knife for modifications is that you have steel handle scales, which, you know, they're heavier than titanium. They're not the most premium material, but they get the job done. And in regards to these mods we're going to be doing, they respond very well to the etching with ferric chloride. So we're going to clean these up. We're going to acid etch them. We're going to stonewash them and do the same with the blade. Now, I started showing some pictures and videos with some knives that I did a splatter pattern to. What's a splatter pattern? If you don't know, if you haven't seen the videos, here's the latest knife I did with it, the Rat number 2, and you can see it's just a pattern that I obtained by splattering paint on the blade and then doing 2 different stages of acid etch. So we're going to actually do that one with the Pilar today. You'll notice I'm wearing gloves. You should definitely be wearing gloves throughout this whole process, and there's 2 reasons why. First reason, any oils you get on the steel will impede the etching process. Even if you get one little fingerprint on that steel, you go to etch it in the ferric chloride, and that fingerprint could be permanently displayed for everyone to see in your steel. So it's very important to clean your parts before you etch them and to always wear gloves. Part 2 of the gloves is that ferric chloride stains. It stains your clothes permanently, and it'll stain your skin. It's pretty hard to wash off. So just wear gloves. You should probably wear eye protection as well, and you're supposed to do this in a well-ventilated area or outside. I like to live dangerously, so I'm going to be doing it in my bathroom with the overhead vent on. Don't know if that's the safest thing, but that's the way I'm going to do it. So yeah, you're going to need your knife, these things you see here, and then a couple of other household things that are lying around off the top of my head. Dish soap for the tumbling media. I'll show you how that works. And a coat hanger or something similar that you can use to dip your parts and keep them in the ferric chloride. So I'm going to disassemble this knife off camera, and when I come back we'll get on with step 1 of the tutorial on how to acid etch and stonewash your knife. Okay, so we have the knife apart, and what I've done is completely disassembled and went ahead and took nail polish and I masked off the areas of the action that you're not going to want the ferric chloride to affect. So it's very important when you're etching with the ferric chloride, it's going to get down into the metal and etch away at the surface. And if you etch away at the vital areas of the blade that affect the action, such as the flats, where the washers ride, and also the lock face, and where the stop pin comes in contact with the blade, if you affect those tolerances, you're going to affect the action of the blade. So if the ferric chloride eats away at, let's say, the lock face or the stop pin, you can get lock rock in the blade. Same thing goes for, since this is a frame lock, the detent ball and the lock bar face. So I've applied nail polish, just regular nail polish, to those areas as well. So very important, don't forget to do detent ball, lock bar, lock face on the blade, the area where the washers ride, and also the detent ball where that's going to ride along the blade and stop into the detent hole. So those are the areas you want to mask off. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put that splatter pattern onto the blade. So I'll show you how that's done in just a second. Alright, so now we're going to apply the pattern to the blade. I'm using just automotive touch-up paint for this part. You can use any type of enamel paint, such as nail polish or model paint or anything like that. I just have this laying around, and it has a long enough brush to where it'll work. So what you're going to do is take a little bit of the paint on the brush, take some type of apparatus, and tap. That's it. And this is causing splatter marks onto the blade. And you're just going to do that until you get the desired result. That's really it, guys. I mean, it's not rocket science. You're just tapping that paint, getting string patterns, getting, you know, droplets on there. And what you're going to do is once that's done, you're going to let it dry. And once it's dry, you're going to flip it over and do the same thing to the other side. And that's it. Okay, so here we have the scales, both of them attached to some chopped up clothes hanger, and I'm gonna dip these in the acid, the ferric chloride, for 30 minutes because I want to go pretty dark on these ones. So we're gonna do 30 minutes on these, and all you do is lower it right in. There's the other one. And we're just going to let those sit for 30 minutes, set the timer, come back and check them out. Okay, so it's been 30 minutes in the ferric chloride, and now I'm going to rinse these off and see how they look. When you're rinsing off the scales or the blade after the ferric chloride, you're going to want to rinse them thoroughly, of course, again with gloves on, and you're going to want to just scrub them down with your hands. Make sure you neutralize all that acid and get it off of all the parts of the piece that you're etching. What I usually do is, once I obtain the shade of etch that I want, I'll wash it again with soap and water just to make sure that all the ferric chloride is off. You could also use baking soda to neutralize the acid as well. But you can see that's it's pretty dark. That's exactly where I want it. So now it's ready to be tumbled in the stonewashing process. And we'll do that next. All right, now we're ready to do the stonewash. You need your container with your stonewashing tumbling media, a little bit of dish soap, just put a couple drops in there, a little bit of water. And what that's going to do is lubricate the parts that we're tumbling. So you got to do one part at a time unless you have a tumbler. I do one part at a time. But if you have an electric tumbler, you can throw all the parts in there at once. But because I'm shaking this by hand, I like to do one part at a time, take it out, check it, see the progress. So I just drop it in there. Put the top on. And one note to make is that you want to make sure there's enough room, enough space in there for everything to move around and tumble the piece. So I'm just gently going to tumble this for a minute or so, and then we'll see what it looks like. All right, let's check our progress. You can see the pattern there starting to develop. It's going to be hard to see with the lighting in here, but that's pretty much what you do. And you can go for more aggressive, less aggressive, and just play around with it. That's about it. You could also try out different forms of tumbling media. You could use sand, you could use, I've seen walnut shells, smaller ceramic pieces, but these stones are pretty big, so they do give you a pretty aggressive pattern there on the steel. But that's the basics right there. I'm going to do the other scale now, and then go check on the blade. Hey guys, so it's 1 o'clock in the morning here, and the paint has finally dried. And the reason why I'm still up and I'm still filming this is because I really want to finish this knife tonight, because tomorrow is the New York Custom Knife Show. And the designer of this knife, Mr. Jesper Voxness, is going to be there exhibiting. And I thought, wouldn't it be a cool idea if I could finish this knife and then bring it to him to have him sign it and then give it away. I think for my Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channel, I think it would be a pretty cool giveaway to do. It's a cool knife, some cool mods, and to have it signed by Jesper himself would be a pretty awesome thing. So we're going to try it. We're going to try to finish it, try to get it to the New York Custom Knife Show, and see if we can get that accomplished. So here you can see we have the splatter pattern that I've done with the paint, masking off these areas on the blade. What I'm going to do is put it in the ferric chloride for 15 minutes. And after the 15 minutes, I'm going to remove all this paint, and that's going to leave bare exposed steel. So the steel that you can see now that's exposed is going to be etched, and the steel that's under all this paint is going to be untouched. And what I'll do after that is I'll put it in the ferric chloride for another 5 minutes, just a quick dip. And what that'll do is just darken up the areas where the paint was, give us some more contrast, so that when I hit this with 1200 grit sandpaper wet sanding, it'll blend all together, and hopefully it'll give us a cool 3D translucent effect. So that's what we're going to try to do right now. 15 minutes in, take it out, wash it all off good, then strip the paint off with some nail polish remover. But I'm going to keep the nail polish on the areas of the blade that you do not want the ferric chloride to touch. So just this area will be cleaned off. Then I'm going to go back in the ferric chloride for 5 minutes, and then we'll wash it up again. So when I come back, we'll see what it looks like. Alright people, so I messed up. And how I messed up is I left it in the acid for too long. The steel on the Pilar is kind of resistant a little bit more than other steels to the ferric chloride. So I figured instead of 15 minutes, I'd leave it in for 30, and it wasn't dark enough, so I left it in for 40, and it wasn't dark enough, so I left it in for 45 minutes. And what it did is it ate away at the paint that was there on the blade and kind of destroyed my pattern pretty bad. But you know what? We're gonna keep on rolling with it, because sometimes I guess mistakes can lead to beautiful things. So let's hope that that's the case. But I took the paint off. You can see the bare exposed steel there, and I'm going to put it in the ferric chloride for another 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'm going to whack it with the sandpaper. I'm not going to film myself wet sanding this. Basically, it's just me with some water and soap and 1200 grit sandpaper, lightly going over this thing until I get it to look the way I want it to. So I'll show you the end result, but basically 5 to 10 more minutes in here, and then that wet sanding process, which is just, again, wet sandpaper with water and soap and lightly sanding and buffing until I get it to where I want it to be. So when I come back, you'll see what that looks like. See how it goes. So it turns out the knife gods were good. Look at that. Before I buffed this down, it looked like all the fine detail work was gone. But it was just hidden underneath all that, I don't know, oxidization or whatever you call it from the acid. All those fine marks from the paint are all there. How cool is that? So I hit this with 1200 grit sandpaper, wet sanded, very lightly over and over until I got it the way I want it to look. Remove the nail polish from the lock face and the washer's ride and all that. So this is ready to go back together. Let's do it. Here it is, guys. Finished up. I think it came out pretty nice. Now I was up until probably 4 in the morning, the morning before New York Custom Knife Show, because I really wanted to finish this up and bring it with me. The knife pretty much went off without a hitch. I finished it the night before, and about an hour before the show, before leaving to drive 3 hours to the show, I reassembled it and took it with me. Now I guess the question is, did I accomplish my goal once I was there? Well, I showed up to the show, made my way over to Mr. Voxnays himself, and he was gracious enough to sign this knife. There you have it. The designer of the knife himself signed off. And let's take a look at the blade. There it is, guys. This knife is going to go up for giveaway on my Instagram. Customized by me, signed by Vox. I'm actually putting together a nice little display box for it as well. So keep an eye out for that. But as far as the mods go, we thought we lost that finish along the way on the blade, but we did not. It all worked out in the end. Put a fresh edge on this with the KME sharpener. If you're in the market for a sharpening system, a guided hand sharpening system. I've had the KME for about a month now, and it is awesome. So definitely look into that if you're in the market. So finish on the blade came out great. Finish on the scales, I think, came out awesome. And you may notice I also used a torch to heat color the hardware from the standard stainless silver to like a goldish bronze. Same thing on the pocket clip. I'm actually referring to this as the Pirate Pilar because Giant Mouse has a special edition on all their flagship knives that Vox and Anzo design, where the finish is like a dark, a dark etched finish, and then all the hardware is bronze. So it kind of reminds me of that Pirate Edition. So yeah, I guess that's what I'll dub it. Take creative licensure on that. But I just think it was so cool that Vox was gracious enough to sign this and was on board with my plan with the knife. So I hope you guys like it. In addition to those mods, I also took a Dremel and did a pretty cool rock pattern to the backspacer that goes all the way around. If I could focus in there. I think that this design really works with the overall look of the knife and finishes it off pretty nicely. So, now that you've seen the whole video, I hope you were able to at least learn something from it. Take something away, even if it was just entertainment value. Thanks for dealing with me for probably about 20 minutes now of your lives. If you like this video, please leave a comment, like, share, subscribe. If you want to see more knife mods, knife reviews. I just left a review for the all-new Giant Mouse knives. Ace Iona, another awesome little knife from those guys. Check that out. I dropped it the other day. But yeah, you're going to want to keep an eye on my Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channel. I'm The Casual Cutter at all three of those social media platforms. So definitely find me there, follow, and keep an eye out because over the next few days I'm going to be announcing not only the giveaway, which you guys watching this video are the first to learn about that giveaway. But I'm also going to leave instructions on how to enter to win this knife. Man, I want to keep it myself, but, got to do what you got to do. So, yeah. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Find me on Facebook and Instagram. And you guys have a good day. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.